it and showcase, but it's stupid. You know, they did the same thing when I was little. When I was little, they talked about the ozone layer and how the ozone had a hole in it in Alaska, the size of Texas, right? Now, they neglected to tell me that ozone is created with lightning, that it's a renewable. They told me as a child in school, they said that the ozone layer by time I was like 30 or 40 would be the size of the United States. And we better invest in really good lotion, sunscreen lotion, if we want to go outside as adults. The media does this constantly. They brainwash children. When I was young, the media spoke about if you elect Ronald Reagan, then it would be War III, nuclear holocaust with Russia. Now, they proclaimed it. They proclaimed it and proclaimed it in the news. If President Ronald Reagan is elected, or if Ronald Reagan is elected, it is global holocaust, right? Then as a child, I see this movie they come out with, and it's, I don't recall the name, but it was about nuclear holocaust. It was about a total incineration of people. It was strange. They showed cars with no drivers on the highway. That a nuclear weapon went off and incinerated all human beings. There was one guy out of all we got incinerated that was alive. He'd step out of his car, look around, and everyone's gone and dead. It was strange. And they had a couple, and I identified, okay, if this happens and I'm married, there's a couple down the bunker, right? And this woman says, I am going crazy in this bunker. We've been here for months or years, I don't know. And she just runs out into the radiation. He said, no, don't leave, honey. I love you. We have to wait till it gets cleaner, right? The radiation goes down. She goes crazy and runs out of this bunker, this homemade 1950s home style. They were installed because of the threat of Russia. Businesses went around and dug out blast rooms for people to withstand to live through a nuclear war, and people would buy them, right, to protect their families. So they were in this nuclear, I don't know if it was nuclear, just a blast shelter underground. And she flipped out and says, I'm not living like this no more. Maybe she was from Michigan, right? She ran out into the radiation in the movie, and her husband, in the movie, knowing that she's going to die because she went out into radiation, I'm going to follow my wife. I love her. I'm going to go get her. He runs out. And then in the movie, they give the paradigm that now they're both going to die a horrible radioactive death. And the man that I identified as like a husband going through nuclear holocaust, he gave his life to comfort his wife. He loved her. And I was like, wow, can I do that? Would I die for my wife? I was young, right? Could I die for my wife? Nuclear holocaust in my mind was all but certain if Ronald Reagan won the election. He won, and instead of going to war nuclear holocaust, nuclear Armageddon with Russia. The very man that the media told me as a kid that would, if he was elected, end the world in a nuclear holocaust, bankrupted the nuclear enemy. Bankrupted him. He beat him. I'm so tired of this Goebbels type media lying. This commercial about the polar bear ice melting, right? Because it's getting too hot. Well, every single year the ice melts and then it regrows. Every single year, Fox News showed in deep of winter that there was 35% more ice at the poles than have been in the previous years. But that information you had to search for and find. They hide that kind of information. They show a picture of a polar bear on what looks like melting ice, putting his paw through water like, oh, the poor polar bear's habitat is disappearing. They're going to die off. You have to save children. You have to save the beautiful, white, majestic polar bear. Give us money. Now, you know damn well this fund is not, even if man-made climate change is real, right? That even if it was true, it's not. It's pseudoscience. Even if CO2 emissions could drive global temperatures up. In other words, CO2 levels go higher, the temperature thus goes higher. That's fake. That's fake. The global temperatures are cyclical. We got that in ice cores. Has nothing to do, pretty much nothing to do with CO2 levels. This is how it works. When the temperature gets hotter, right? Global temperatures get hotter. Probably because of cloud cover. But when global temperatures rise, and we're not going to talk about the 2016 to 2018, where global temperatures dropped an astounding 0.56 degrees. They don't report that stuff. NASA reported that, and I was like, that's interesting. Global temperatures dropped, but they don't report it on the news. Now, they neglect to say their weather gathering computers or whatever they do, whatever they are. They were placed many decades ago all over. With urbanization, with cities and towns growing around these so-called scientific global temperature readers, that the temperature will grow because it's warmer in a city or a town than it is out in the open. It's artificially hotter. There's a lot of stuff they're not teaching our children. It's pseudoscience. As for this damned fund, you're supposed to give them money, and it says, we save the habitat if you give us money. Oh, you're going to stop the ice from melting, huh? I'm sick of this brainwashing Goebbels TV. Scaring the shit of our children. Working on their heart. To say, oh, I want to save the polar bear. I have to save the polar bear.